Okay, what we're going to be doing today is rotating figures. We're going to start out with 90 degrees, and in other videos, you'll see how to do uh, angles other than 90 degrees. But the first thing you have to realize is that the coordinate grid is actually broken up into four parts. Those four parts are called quadrants. You should have learned this in seventh grade, but I'll review it anyway. The word quadrant has a prefix of quad, which means four, hence the four different sections. The name of this quadrant is quadrant one. The name of this is quadrant two, quadrant three, and quadrant four. I told you in a previous class that in mathematics, normally we like to go counterclockwise. So that's why we start out with one and we go counterclockwise around. Okay? What we're going to be doing is we're going to be rotating this figure 90 degrees. Okay? Now remember, when they just say 90 degrees and they don't tell you counterclockwise or clockwise, they just give you a positive angle. You're going to go counterclockwise because counterclockwise is the customary way that we rotate. If it's a negative degree, we're going to go clockwise. Okay? But here we have a positive degree, so we're going to go counterclockwise. So we know that this quadrilateral is going to go into this quadrant, and that's because 90 degrees out of a total of 360, and we know there's 360 degrees in a full rotation, 90 degrees out of 360 is just 1/4. So this is just going 1/4 around. So it's going here. So the question is, how do we do it? Well, the first step is look at each point and write down the coordinates. So uh, coordinates of point A is 2, 3. Point B, 6, 3. Point C, 6, 6. And you went over how to find coordinates in the last class. And D is 2, 6. Okay? Now, how do you rotate? We know that it's going to end up here. So the question is, what are the signs in quadrant 2? Well, if you see, the x's are negative and the y's are positive. So that's going to be crucial. While we're on that, let's look at the quadrant 3. Even though we're not rotating to quadrant 3, the x's here you see are negative. X's are negative. And the y's are also negative. Quadrant 4, the x's are positive, the y's are negative. And in quadrant 1, positive, positive. Just wanted you to have the information even though we don't need it right now. So we know that the x's are eventually going to be negative and the y's are going to be positive. The trick here is when you're rotating 90 degrees, all you do is you switch the coordinates and you match up the sign with what the sign is supposed to be. So let's first switch the coordinates. So A is going to turn into A prime. And instead of being 2, 3, we're going to switch it. It's going to be 3, 2. Move that over just a little bit. B prime, it's going to be 3, 6. Let's switch 6, 3 to 3, 6. C prime, if you switch 6, 6, you get 6, 6. And D prime, we'll have 6, 2. One last step. We know that the x's have to be negative. The y's are positive. Well, look here. The y's are already positive, so we don't have to do anything to those. But we do have to make the x negatives. So put just a negative sign right in front. Try to leave yourself more room than I left for me, but those are all negative x's. Okay. So first we have negative 3, 2. Negative 3, 2 is A prime. B prime is negative 3, 6. Negative 3, 6 is B prime. C prime is negative 6, 6. Negative 6, 6 is right here. And finally, negative 6, 2 right here. Take the ruler, draw any straight edge, connect the points. We just rotated 90 degrees. Now, if they told you to rotate 180 degrees, we'll do that right now as well. They told you to rotate 180 degrees. I'm not sure if you know, you probably do, but 180 degrees is just 2 90-degree rotations. So if they say 180, Don't rotate it 1/4 of the way, but rotate it 2/4 of the way. And in order to do two 90-degree rotations, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to do two 90-degree rotations following the rules we have. Now, the rules that we have for a 90-degree rotation is switch the coordinates. But because we have two 90-degree rotations, we're going to switch the coordinates and then switch them again. So really what we did when we switch coordinates and switch them again is we leave them the same. So let's call A double prime. This is the 180-degree rotation. Get this out the way. 180-degree rotation. Let's call that our second transformation, A double prime. We're going to leave the coordinates the same. Because remember, we switched them and we switched them again. B double prime, C double prime, B double prime. Okay, we have 6 comma 3, 6 comma 6, and 2 comma 6. Okay? Now, look at quadrant 3. We know it's going to be a quadrant 3 because it's going to be a 90 degree and then another 90 degree, which is 180. So it's going to be down here. Each, the x and the y values are negative. So just put a negative sign here, negative sign here. Negative, 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 negative. Okay? And plot those, and we're done. Negative 2 comma 3. Negative 2 comma negative 3. Negative 6 comma negative 3. This is A double prime, B double prime, C double prime is negative 6 comma negative 6, which is right here. And D double prime is negative 2 comma negative 6, which is D double prime. Finally, take your straight edge, connect the points, and we have just rotated 180 degrees. So again, just to recap, a 90-degree rotation, just switch the coordinates and match up the signs. For 180 degrees, switch the coordinates because it's 90, switch the coordinates again because it's another 90. Basically, when you switch the coordinates twice, you're leaving them the same, and take the signs of whatever quadrant it's supposed to be in. Okay? This is a 90-degree rotation. This is a 180-degree rotation. We now know how to rotate 90 degrees, 180 degrees on a coordinate grid. If we wanted to do 270 degrees, 90, 180, 270. It's 3 rotations. In the next video, you'll learn about that. Good luck.